All right, good. And again, while you're waiting, if you want to go and just sort of tab over the little control bar there for the Zoom webinar, there's a slide down menu, pull down menu, and it actually shows the chat function. So if you want to go and click on that, you can, and then ask questions, any questions that you might have for the panelists, and I'll field those questions for them. Okay, good. Well, I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. And just a reminder as well, this webinar is being recorded, so you'll be able to actually look back in the webinar as well, or share the link to the recording, which will be sent out in a few days, with anybody else at your office or any networking contacts that you have as well, so you can share this information. And today, again, is really focused on how to lead, train, and coach your contact center employees to success. And a really key factor there in terms of being able to help improve their contact center and their performance. Now, today as well, we have a guest expert, and I just want to introduce, first of all, Sheri. So Sheri Kendall, right there in the center of the screen. So Sheri Kendall, hi there, Sheri. And Sheri is a service training manager at Wayfair.com. And of course, Wayfair is the just amazingly successful online retailer of furniture and home decor. And I know you guys have grown so rapidly as well. So we're curious to go and find out, how you've done that and what the customer experience advantages that you have, which is very important to Wayfair. And as well, in terms of how yourself as training managers have been able to go and train and coach your contact center employees. So really looking forward to hearing more from you. So welcome to today's show.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And as well, I also want to mention as well, unfortunately, Kate Nasser, whose photographs on the left-hand side of your screen, is unable to go and attend today. At the last minute, she had a family issue to go, a family emergency, personal issue to go and take care of, so she was not able to attend today's session. She did, however, though, send her slides in, her information for the session, and I'll be able to recap some of those as we had a chance to go and talk a bit about the slides. I'll be able to give you some more information that Kate provided in terms of her perspective, in terms of people skills, and the importance of people skills, of course, when it comes to customer experience as well. And again, my name is Mike Aoki, and I'll be your host, the moderator for today's session. So as you have any questions that you want to type in at all, feel free to go and do so as well. We'll be able to go field those questions during a Q&A session, question and answer session at the end of today's webinar. And again, we do want to hear from you as well. So if you slide over where the Zoom toolbar is, it'll have a drop-down menu, and in there it shows a little icon for chat. And if you click on that chat icon, you can actually type in any questions that you have for Sheri or for myself as well, in terms of looking at customer experience and how to lead, train, and coach your contact center employees. Now, as well for today's session, and a really great question in terms of doing this. This one was actually originally directed for Kate. And again, unfortunately, Kate can't attend today, but she did provide the information for us. And the question for Kate was, how do you inspire employees to give great customer service and also create a phenomenal customer experience each and every time? And of course, that consistency and that motivation is really crucial as well. And so in the orange box there is Kate's reply. And what she wrote back about this was to inspire employees to great service each and every time by helping them realize the impact of the work. And Kate was mentioning that one of the factors that takes place is, when you're doing 60, 80, 100 calls a day, day after day, and I began as an agent myself on the front lines, I think a lot of us did, it's really easy to lose sight of the fact that each one of those contacts, calls, emails, texts, chats, is an actual person who might be upset about something, who might be going through a bad day, a bad moment, whatever that is, and who needs that customer experience, that wonderful customer experience to fix their problem and also hopefully make their day as well. And so part of it is just linking back, and Kate's advice was to link back with your staff, your agents, how they make an impact, what they do to make things better, and what kind of a difference they make as well. So they see the results. And not just the after-call results as far as customer satisfaction scores, but also the results when it comes to what customers are saying. So customer testimonials, any customer verbatim comments, thanking that agent, that has to get communicated back to the agent. So you have an idea about what impact they're having out there. And Kate also added as well that, another way to do this is to go and share either true life stories that you collect, as I mentioned, from customers. Kate also mentioned as well, you can do imagine type scenarios. So imagine your customers had a really bad day, the shipment was late, or a part was missing, and now they're feeling really embarrassed in front of their boss at their workplace, and they're calling you for more help. So just those scenarios as well, as a manager or as a director, just to give during a town hall meeting or during a staff meeting with your staff can really help tremendously. Also as well too, ask agents for their stories. And again, when it comes to your meetings that you have with them or even at town halls, ask for those success stories. Ask for times when agents felt really good about being able to help people. So Kate had some great information there, some really great ideas in terms of being able to go and help with customers. And again, I want to thank Kate, who unfortunately couldn't make it today due to a personal issue, but I want to thank her for gathering this information and being able to help us share this through these slides. Now, Sheri, there's a question for you as well. And this one's in terms of looking at customer challenges. So for yourself, Sheri, and this is at Wayfair, what special customer experience challenges do online stores like Wayfair face, and how do you deal with them?
So we were talking a bit about this, Mike, before we started. We're most famous for our furniture. Of course, you can now find even apple slicers on Wayfair.com. We're selling all sorts of things, but our furniture is our is the keystone of our business. And so some of the challenges you face is that, when you want to purchase a couch or you want to purchase a dresser or something for this great life event, and that's, one of the things, thinking back to what Kate was saying, that we help our agents understand is it's not just a dresser, it's not just a crib, it's not a couch. It's connected to some kind of life event, right? Whether that be somebody saved up for a year to buy that first couch, maybe a home renovation, a new baby. So really, making sure that our agents understand that. Then what our tech department does is make sure that the descriptions are accurate, our pictures are on point, that when we say you're going to get this big beautiful blue velvet couch, that it does indeed arrive and it's blue. And it arrives in one piece, whether you want that delivered at your front door or inside of your home, both of those things that we offer. So what our agents face is when somebody calls in and says, yes, I ordered blue, but I needed cobalt blue, and this is more of a teal, and it just doesn't work for our home and our design scheme. So really making sure that our agents are prepared to make those connections with customers and to understand their need, right? So how do you make a connection with a customer when you're not seeing them face to face? You haven't been part of that whole process. If I purchased a couch from a local provider like M. Jacobs, you walk in there and you're having that interaction and you're talking about it and you're sitting on the couch, and if something goes wrong, you call that particular person back. And so we have to recreate that in a virtual environment. And so we hire right. It always begins with that, and then we make sure that we are really we let people into our systems. We provide some technical training, but we really focus on how to create that connection. What does that mean? How are you interacting authentically with your customers? How do you remain obsessively curious when it's the 75th call? And how well do you know our systems to solve that problem efficiently while maintaining that interaction with the customer?
Okay, great. Now, those are great ideas. Sorry, go ahead, Sheri.
Oh, no, that was good.
Oh, okay, okay, okay. Well, those are great ideas as well. And I know you mentioned the authenticity piece, which is of course so important as well. Just as a little follow-up question, how do you ensure that authenticity, or how do you train or coach to help your agents be authentic?
So it goes back to some of what Kate was saying, right? It's connecting them to the impact of their work. So one of the things I'm semi-famous for saying around this site is that we can choose to be an agent of peace, right? Somebody might be calling and it might feel like it's over the top reaction to a broken dresser drawer. But it's not a dresser drawer. It may be impacting, a home renovation, a move. It may be the 17th thing that went wrong that day. So really connecting the agents to what their role is in that problem-solving process and the impact that they can have on somebody's life. I often reference the work of Dr. Barry Schwartz and Why We Work. He did a phenomenal study with janitorial staff at a medical center, and found out that really it's when you connect folks to the meaning. So connecting janitors to the idea that they are part of the medical outcome, that patient outcome. They aren't cleaning a room, they're directly impacting a patient, and then empowering them to make decisions, trusting them, increased every KPI you can imagine. And so everywhere I go, I make sure that I am offering that opportunity as well, making sure that we're not just talking about a new hire training, that impact that you have, but it's a conversation we keep having. We have it in formal coaching, informal coaching. When we hear a great call, and we also have created a environment in which our agents are empowered. So they don't have to talk to a manager who then talks to a senior manager who then runs it up this big long ladder. We trust our agents to make decisions, and they can make them timely.
That sounds great, though, and that's so important as well to empower your agents. I'm glad to hear that, Sheri. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes.
good. Yeah, it's really important to have that special service. Okay, good. And as well, too, in terms of looking at this, and this is one that Kate Nasser is going to answer in terms of what must leaders do to be able to lead and sustain morale. Morale, of course, being a huge issue when it comes to contact centers. And again, having been a frontline agent myself, and I know a lot of the people that are listening at their offices as well, most of us began that way. Okay, taking calls, being yelled at by customers, et cetera, before we moved on to management and, et cetera, with us. And so, the question I had for Kate, which she sent the answer in for, and again, for those of you that are just joining right now, unfortunately, Kate Nasser was not able to attend today's webinar due to a personal issue, unfortunately, but she did send her information ahead of time. And Kate's reply to that is here on the screen in front of you, which is to go and treat every agent, very carefully, treat every agent with dignity, because in the end, morale is about dignity and feeling respected, and being able to help feel valued and wanted as well. So Kate wanted to share that, and also talked as well, and Sheri, you mentioned this too, empower them, empower your agents to be able to go and contribute ideas and help improve things. So not just about routing calls, but oftentimes your frontline agents have great ideas about how to fix things, or at least can identify the problem and get that voice of the customer. So it's really important to go empower your frontline team. Kate also mentioned as well about, which she emailed me and said as well, about being inclusive, so that all the agents know they matter. And that's a challenge sometimes when you have remote agents, ones that are off-site, making them feel like part of the team and not just one person in their house 30 miles away from head office. How do you make them feel? Bring them in maybe for events, do online events, virtual, discussions and learning and things like that, just to make everyone feel included as well. And then number 4 is highlight purpose and meaning. So that gets back to Kate's earlier comment that she emailed in and was on the bullet points in the slides about just making sure that agents understand the link between what they do and also how it impacts customers and how customers feel about that. And that's very important as well. And then Kate also emailed me as well with a bit of additional information about how to sustain morale. So that's there on the screen in front of you as well. One of the keys being, of course, to show appreciation. And it's a really tough job being an agent, of course. And so part of it is that you take all those calls and go through all that stress every day. And so it's really important to be able to help refill that energy level. And for managers, directors, VPs, to help your agents feel appreciated and help them feel recognized as well. So that's really important. Also, Kate mentioned point number 2 I thought was interesting when when Katie emailed that to me about having no bullying policy within the call center and prevent cliques, because sometimes that can happen with little cliques and little teams forming, whether it's by shift or by location of the floor. The northwest corner all hangs out together and they don't talk to anybody in the south half of the floor or past the water cooler, whatever that is. But just again, do things to try to go and help people meet each other and build that teamwork. And Kate also emailed as well, bullet point number 3, about address performance problems so that other agents aren't burdened by those who are slacking off. And, a lot of us have been in that situation before where we're having to go and correct problems or errors that other agents have made. And you can't throw the other agent, your colleague, under the bus by saying, oh, boy, Bob over there had no clue what they said in that last phone call. It's, well, whatever the agent said to you, well, what I can do for you is, I'm trying to recover from that. Okay. And again, that's publicly what you would do to go and help, obviously, your customer and help move things forward. But it's also important, of course, as a call center VP or director, to make sure that there is accountability for every agent and that there is a sense that everyone's contributing and helping out. Because your top people realize pretty quickly whether or not everybody else is contributing, and they can get resentful because of that. So Kate had some really good comments when she said this. She also mentioned a couple of other points as well. And this, again, is from Kate Nasser, who couldn't make today's webinar. Number 4 is give them professional development opportunities. And, whether it's online learning, whatever that is, help them learn and grow. Because really, when you look at being a contact center agent now, there's so much change, right? 5 years ago, it was mostly phone. Now, in many cases, it's actually, half or more written communication, chat, email, et cetera. And not just that, but also emotional intelligence training, being able to go and help deal with different kinds of groups that are out there, being able to go and help look at different kinds of products and services. It's just ongoing learning that takes place. And then number 5 that Kate mentioned was be a servant leader and make sure that you're able to go. And I like her comment about to control your good mania is a real morale crusher. Hopefully that's not going on anywhere, but Kate does have a good point, when she emailed this to me to go and say, be that servant leader and go help people as well. So again, Kate couldn't make it today, but she had some really great points to go and send via email. Now, as well, Sheri, a question for you, and this is looking in terms of help preparing people. How does training need to evolve to prepare agents for today's changing customer experience landscape?
May I just go back to a bit of what Kate said for a moment? I was
Of
taking
course,
some
of
notes. I'd
course.
love to add to that. So one of the things that we do at Wayfair and in my own personal practice is we are servant leaders. It is one of the things that drew me here, and it is from the very tippy top all the way down. One of our founders actually came all the way to Springfield during peak, which, for those of you that aren't familiar with retail, peak into the day after Thanksgiving to the day before Christmas Eve. It's really intense, and it's all hands on deck. And he came all the way across the country to spend the day handing out cupcakes and shaking hands and thanking people. And really, yeah, and he was doing that. He didn't bring a whole group of people to hand out cupcakes as he sat on a throne. He was involved in walking through our center, and it was one of the most pleasant things I've seen in my career. And professional development is actually what brought me here, because we do offer not just new hire training, but we have learning built into our learning management system, that almost any topic you can imagine is in there. And we do make space in agent schedules to whether it's relevant to their current role or where they want to go, and we support that. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure I got that out there, that we're doing those things, and we're also respecting individuality. We have employee resource groups in which, if you the one that I'm leading here in Springfield is called Woman at Work, and it is sponsored by Wayfair. And we get together and we talk about what the needs are of women in business, and what we can do um, to bring education, mentors, and networking opportunities. So it was great to see her slide and think like, oh my gosh, we're doing that. Kate would be so proud.
Oh, exactly, definitely, Sheri. And thanks for sharing that as well. It's
Yeah.
really nice to hear that it's being rolled out in different contact centers across, across America and
Yes.
across the North America as well. So thank you.
Yes. Yes.
Good. And also, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just mention as well.
Okay.
It tells a bit more too about what you're doing and what Wayfair does to help prepare agents for the
Mm-hmm.
changing, customer experience landscape. And how does training have to evolve to make that happen?
Oh boy, does it ever. So the idea that it's a talking head in front of a classroom, if I may just be so bold, that whole idea needs to die. It is not the way, it's not effective, right? And training needs to evolve. And in my previous, at my previous employer, I built a client training for, oh gosh, I think at last count was somewhere between 70 and 80 clients within a couple of years. And I used to shock clients by saying, you just need to let them in the tool day one, like within the first few hours. It doesn't make sense to wait 7 days after you've taught policies and processes and they're falling asleep, right? And none of it makes sense because everything's out of context. If they can't break it, let them in, right? So I would often I would suggest that you meet them at the front door, right? You create that connection with new hires immediately. You're shaking their hand. You're excited that they're there. You already know their name. You have a bright, beautiful, welcoming classroom for them to enter. And then often I would give them a card that with our customer persona, and on the other side, a problem that they would need to solve for this customer. Pair them up in groups. Here are your tools. Get in there and figure that out. So anything that allows them to get in and solve problems immediately, and then you're providing that feedback and debrief sessions, very rich debrief sessions. Thiagi has a 6-step process. It's just very efficient and effective. That's how we need to change. We need to get in there and do it. Let them do it. Let them solve problems. And oftentimes what you will find is they're going to teach you things you didn't even know, because what happens when we get so immersed, right, in our own knowledge and in our own processes, it's like seeing the forest through the trees. We can't see through everything. um, and then they're engaged, they're feeling connected. It's not even lunch yet. They're on day one, they're feeling connected and they're solving problems and they're getting to know your tools. And then you continue that kind of process throughout. um, yes, that's the first step in changing, and then making sure that you're providing those opportunities for continuing education, uh, consistently and often. One of the things, oh, I'm sorry, Mike, I see you want to say something.
No, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
I
It's your
get
turn, so
passionate
go
about
ahead, please.
this. I get
No,
so
it's good. We want
passionate
to
I
find.
forget.
But that's what you want to hear. That's what people want to hear. Is what are you doing differently, and what can they
Yes.
adapt in their contact center as well? So please keep going if you have more tips for
Okay.
us.
Yes. So I was thinking, Mike, earlier today for this opportunity because I started digging into some really recent research. And, as I've been ramping in my own position, I haven't had the space for that. So thank you. And one of the things that I came across with this fabulous article by Heather McCowan, and she is a futurist, right? So she spends her time researching organizations and the future of work. And she reminds us what I've always intrinsically knew was true, that learning happens in informal places, right? It's around that coffee pot, it's around the water cooler, it's in the break room, it's while you're standing at the coffee pot waiting for it to do its thing. And about a year ago, I did some reading about Google, and one of the things they did, when they built their campus and their snack spaces, they did this with that in mind. They wanted people to have the opportunity to meet others from all over, not just their department, but all sorts of departments. And they wanted them to have enough time in these spaces that they would be encouraged to speak, right? So thinking through, are you designing your spaces to allow this kind of natural learning to occur? And then, we're going to, I believe it's on the next slide or two, we'll talk about, are you capturing that? And then what are you doing with it once you capture it? And is it searchable? Yes. So that's tip 2, right? Design your spaces so people have the opportunity to learn informally.
Okay, great. That's wonderful, information as well, Sheri, because you're right. A lot of people design the space that's just for the contact center, and only that, as opposed to other people from other departments dropping by, or having that cross-pollination of information that takes place. And so oftentimes the design creates the silo of the contact center being just its own little entity. So I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, at
Like that.
Wayfair, one of the things we're famous for is our snack wall. So we offer a variety of snacks, both healthy and not so healthy, all day, every day for our agents, free of charge, just because we're so glad you're here. And we have, at this site, we have a really large one to my left and a smaller one to our right. And what we do is we stock them with different things. So if you're looking for chips, maybe you want this particular kettle chip. One day it's going to be over here. A few days later, it's going to be over here. And, at first people were making jokes about it, like, oh man, can't you get this right? And I was like, wait a minute, we're getting it right. What we're asking you to do is meet new people at different ends of the building and get a few steps in before you eat those chips.
Oh, that's a great example there about what leaders can do, right, beyond just the normal, saying something at a town hall, but actually the design of the building, the layout of your floor, where you put things, etc., to again help create that intermixing and avoid cliques forming, and help people cross-pollinate information as well. So it's really good information, things that leaders as well can do to help make their contact center more interactive as well. So I like that. That's good. Okay, good, excellent. And so I know there was a question for Kate as well, and for her looking in terms of this. And again, unfortunately, Kate was not able to join us due to a last-minute family issue. But the question was in terms of what are her tips to build great communication with customers. And so Kate's reply that she emailed back was basically really focusing in terms of being able to have the great communication by not asking a lot of demographic details at the start. And, a lot of organizations, especially in things like financial services, for instance, banking, insurance, yes, you do have to verify identities. You have to verify that you're talking to the right person for security reasons, because there's information and safeguards. So that does have to be there. Just be careful, though, that you're not asking your agents to go and basically interrogate customers, because that can happen, too. And I've been called my local bank. I've had that happen, where they ask a lot of questions up front before even saying, what are you looking for or anything else. So that was one of Kate's tips that she emailed in. That's there on the slide going forward. And as well, too, you can ask, again, customers for more information at the end of the phone call, just to fill that out. But just be careful not to interrogate them too much at the start. Also, I like Kate's comment, too, about listen, which I'm sure all three of us agree with. Sheri, yourself as well, but listening, which is so important. And again, don't assume that you know what the customer wants, but actually listen to what they have to say. And that's so important as well, because, and again, there's a pressure for us to go take more calls, reduce average handle time, etc. But if you're not listening to what the customer says, they're not going to calm down or feel respected and not going to be open for your answers. And so it's so important to go and listen that way, to go and make your customer feel heard and understood, and also make sure that you're actually answering the right question as well. And that's important too, because that will reduce your overall handle time, as opposed to giving an explanation and having the customer say, no, you're not listening, that's not what I asked, and then having to loop back over the whole conversation again. So Kate had a really good point when she emailed that bullet point in. She also emailed as well, point number 3, about clarity and accuracy and how key those are as well. So again, watch out for jargon. And every place has jargon. So it's really important, though, that that's kept internal, because customers have no clue, what that jargon means. And so the point about it is explain it simply from your customer perspective, and also be accurate in what you say. So it builds trust. And that gets back to, again, how well trained and coached people are. Also their availability, being able to go to access a good knowledge base and pull information up really quickly as well. So those are some key things that Kate mentioned. She also had as well, for a 4th bullet point here, but always sound truly committed, interested in helping the customer. And I know Kate, unfortunately again, couldn't make it today, does a lot of work when it comes to people skills. And she runs webinars, seminars, etc. And has also written a book as well, really focused on those interpersonal skills, the people skills that are so important to have, whether it's over the phone, face-to-face, or via text. It's really important to go and make your customer feel welcomed, feel heard and understood. All right, feel that joy in your voice that you want to go and help them out with things, and you're moving them forward again towards a positive result. So Kate just emailed that information for us to go and share with us as well. So just want to focus on that. Also as well, Sheri, for yourself, and a question that just to follow up on that for yourself, is in terms of how can onboarding, that whole wonderful new hire process that as trainers and training managers have all been through, how can onboarding be improved to increase both agent performance and also employee engagement as well? I noticed you have a few bullet points up there to go and talk about.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and so purpose. Folks need to understand the purpose of their role immediately. That is what gets them engaged in the new hire training and being part of the team. So one of the first things I do, whether it's at Wayfair or any, in my private practice, always connecting people to what the purpose of their role is. And again, I remind people all of the time, it's not about a missing leg of a sofa. You are taking part in this very important life event of this person, right? And so when we can connect them to that purpose, it goes from, oh boy, I'm going to answer calls about broken furniture all day, woo woo, to, wow, I really get to be part of something exciting and assisting people in whether it's opening that new business or getting the crib for the new baby or maybe the doghouse for the new puppy. You can just see the change in the way in which they're learning and engaged with becoming the best agent that they can be. So immediately, like that should be within those first few hours, right? And then people, we often get, I don't know how many times I have had to sit through or have helped people who shared with me their onboarding process. I'll be, okay, walk me through day 1. Well, we have about 6 hours of paperwork. We have, right? We're going to read a benefit handbook. We're going to choose our benefits. We're going to fill out a 9-9. We're going to talk about policy. And I'm already uninterested in being here. Connect me with some people, right? Connect them with people. You have 3 days to get the I-9 done by law. Take those 3 days and do something that's more impactful. Whether that's connecting them with senior leaders. I've seen some great welcome breakfasts held by senior leaders that are, put their phones away and really get involved with new hires and understanding who they are and what they're going to bring to the team. What a great way to help them feel valued. So make sure that the onboarding process isn't action-oriented immediately, it's people-oriented. And then peers. How can you bring the peers into that process? Connect them to the people that they're going to work with, right? Get them excited about being here in this company. Peers can, make sure that you've spent some time with those peers and really providing them some insight on what would be most helpful in this kind of conversation and interaction. So then it can even be used as part of a career path for the tenured agents as they learn how to interact in this semi-leadership position through the onboarding process. And then you're also onboarding folks effectively as they start to feel valued as a team member immediately. So win-win there.
Okay, good. No, those are great ideas, Sheri. I like that. And also, I love the part you mentioned about meeting your future team lead or senior agent as well, because so many places, someone goes through 6 weeks of training with the trainer. That's who
Yes.
their contact is in terms of the company representative. Then, boom, all of a sudden they meet their team leader, brand new stranger to go and meet, will be their boss from then on. And it sounds crazy, right? So, yeah, go ahead.
It
Mm-hmm.
reduces productivity immediately because
Mm-hmm.
now I'm not safe again. So I was safe and warm in this, kumbaya training environment. I'm feeling good about that relationship. And, I trust that person, my trainer. But now you throw me into this team, like the deep end of the pool, and I have to build trust again. So productivity is going to take a hit when we need it to go up immediately, not only to be for revenue purposes and those kind of things, but new hires need to feel success as soon as possible. One of the top reasons people leave any job, whether contact center or anywhere, is confidence in my ability to do the job. So if I've spent 6 weeks in training, I get on the floor, I'm not feeling safe, I don't know who to ask, I'm just feeling a little wobbly, and then I get a couple of bad QAs, well, I'm out, right? That was a fun couple months. Thank you for spending all of that money on me. I'm finding something else. So
Yeah, no, that's so true, Sheri, having that happen. And it's such a cost and loss to the company as well. And, one of the challenges I think a lot of contact centers are facing is that attrition that's taking place during the onboarding process. People, they ghost and don't show up at all, or they show up for a day or two and then they don't show up and
yeah.
don't even give you a message they've resigned, and you're having to chase them and try to find out what happened to them. So,
Yes.
what are some tips that you can do to help maybe, again, increase that kind of employee engagement and reduce the amount of ghosting that's going on? That's I think I'm hearing from a lot of contact center leaders right now.
Whew. Oh boy, I would have many clients if I could figure out the ghosting piece. Why people don't show up. I know what to do when they get here. The only thing I can think of with the ghosting is really thinking through your hiring process, right? And the questions that you're asking and the vetting that you're doing. It's interesting to me, and I know the reasons why many contact centers, with their need to hire so quickly and so many, it can be really costly to do deep reference checks. So I understand that. I hadn't experienced that before I joined contact centers, and I was blown away until I had those conversations with recruiting, and it made sense. So what that means is we need to make sure that our leaders, whoever is conducting those interviews, they are trained well. They know what kind of questions to ask, what kind of follow-up questions to ask, what kind of red flags to look for. That would be my only suggestion with the ghosting. I wish I had the answer for that one.
Well, you raised a really good point, though, which is having the interviewers asking the right questions and doing a thorough background check to
Yeah.
find out about if the employee's done that before or not, how committed they are, what else are they looking at right now as well,
Yes.
right, whether it's school or other opportunities. So to help reduce that, it's quite a challenge, going forward as well. So that's good. No, I like that, is being able to help improve that employee engagement, and that's so important as well. So good, excellent. And I was going to mention too that I know Kate had another question that was directed for her, and this was actually a question. And again, for those of you that are listening to this, Kate unfortunately could not attend today due to a personal issue, but she did email information that I'll recap for you. So the question for Kate was about what qualities, traits, and behaviors are needed to deliver the best service experience. And again, Kate's background is just an extensive background in terms of people skills, interpersonal communication skills, and being able to help build that relationship with people. So she's so good at doing that. And so Kate's response there in the orange box was one of the key things to look for is in terms of just a desire to go and serve people and help welcome people as well. There is that personality component that's there of hiring people that like to help people, and want to be helpful. I know it sounds kind of obvious, but it is part of what to interview for and a criteria to look for in terms of selecting people. They can be very technically proficient, but just not necessarily be the most, the kind of warm and fuzzy kind of person that will do well in that kind of customer experience role. So that's one of Kate's key things to look for. Also, as well, she said the ability to listen and to what's being said and also not said. And again, Kate really focuses in terms of people skills. So I think here she's really looking in terms of people's emotional intelligence and your agent's ability or your agent candidate's ability to be able to go and read between the lines and be able to go and sense how the person's feeling from their vocal tone, rate of speech, or if it's text or live chat, from how they're writing in terms of how their phrasing's like all capitals, big 5 exclamation marks, whatever that is, being able to go and read between the lines to find out about how your customer's feeling. And that really leads into Kate's third point, which is empathy, and being able to help display the empathy skills, which are so crucial as well. So what's the customer going through? And that's very important too. Also, too, Kate was mentioning as well about looking in terms of being able to help, be that kind of reassuring person. That customer is really trusting you, and you've got to assure them in terms of, what you're doing. And that goes a long way towards showing them that their trust is well placed. So, if you imagine it, and I know, in terms of what Kate's looking at here, is just that your agents display that competence and confidence, that they've got the right answers and they sound like they know what's the right answer, and that they're actually able to deliver that sense of reassurance to customers. And even beyond the right answers, being able to reassure them as well that, other people have asked that question, or, that's okay, it happens to a lot of people, here's how to fix that. So that reassurance is important as well. So that was key. Also, Kate's fifth bullet point was about commitment and enthusiasm. And again, looking for enthusiasm. And having been a manager in a contact center, honestly, I love it when agents are enthusiastic. If they are, the rest you can train and build and coach, okay? If they're not enthusiastic, it's one of the toughest things to overcome. So again, commitment and enthusiasm are really crucial. And the last point that Kate emailed in about this was in terms of looking at constant learning. And great agents, just like great managers and great leaders, are always learning all the time. So again, taking advantage of both learning more about the products and services that the company offers, but also about the customers. You mentioned personas, profiles, and their customer service skills as well is really important. So those are some key things that Kate mentioned in terms of being able to help build, better customer experience in terms of looking at this. Now, as well, Sheri, I was going to ask you one final question in terms of the set portion of our webinar, which is how can leaders, so team managers, directors, VPs, how can leaders coach and reinforce their teams to improve performance?
Yes, may I say one thing about what Kate said? I wish she was here. We would be having some great dialogue. But that constant learning, when we bring that up sometimes to leadership in the contact center, we've got to watch our shrinkage. We can't pull people off the phone, and really rethinking what that looks like and what that means. It doesn't always mean off cue. It can mean the things like we just talked about, that informal learning that's happening out here on the floor and in our spaces. So constant learning, for the sake of time, I won't go into it too deeply, but just remember, it doesn't have to be off cue all of the time. There are all sorts of things we can build to make sure learning occurs inside of the work, which is where learning really occurs. Leaders can coach and reinforce their teams by, again, I'm going to say it again, hopefully this is the one thing everyone takes away is purpose, right? So we can't just share that information in new hire training and in the interview process. We need to be speaking to the purpose in all coaching sessions. Oftentimes, one of the ways I like to start coaching conversations is, tell me how you positively impacted a customer this week. And oftentimes, especially new teams, I'll be met with silence because most people they haven't heard that before and they're not quite sure. But what it does is it not only gets them to understand that I'm interested in their positive impact, I believe they've had positive impact, but it also changes their focus. So when they go back out to the floor, they're looking for ways to have positive impact. You will then see that they will come to these conversations and coaching sessions with you with their purpose top of mind, and they'll start sharing what their purpose is and how they shared that with customers, what they did to make sure they were aligned with that purpose. Compassion, I can't say compassion enough, right? So making sure that we're compassionate leaders. And when I say this, I don't mean that we're so compassionate we let people slide, because you'll see the next word is accountability, because without accountability, there is no compassion. I mean, they go together. It is not compassionate to allow someone to continue to slide in their KPIs and not perform. It's actually harmful, not a loving thing to do. So making sure that even when we're having to have a hard conversation, that we're acting from a place of compassion. We're taking their perspective. We're trying to understand how we got here, and really committed to offering whatever support they need to move them to that other place, while holding them accountable to meet those KPIs. Not only do we owe it to the business, it's kind of what we were hired to do, but we also owe it to people. Sometimes that means we still unfortunately have to walk people out of the door to another employer sometimes. Maybe this isn't quite the place for them to be right now. That is also a compassionate act, right? So purpose, compassion, accountability, if you bring those three things to your coaching sessions, both formally, informally, all of your conversations, you will see performance increase.
Okay, great. Those are great tips as well, Sheri. Thank you. That's so important for leaders to do, going forward. I love it when you said about the idea about compassion and accountability going together. Because people sometimes think of it as separate things, but they go together, which I really love. So thanks, Sheri. I appreciate that. All right. All right, good, excellent. And now we actually have a chance for the audience to go and ask more questions of you, Sheri. So we have our Q&A section, our question and answer session here as well. And we've got a few comments already and questions as well. So I just want to mention one, by the way, Sheri. This is from Raul. And Raul, thank you for typing this in. And Raul says that I've called the Wayfair call center in the past. What you and your team are doing is working and had a great experience with your team. So no question there, but a big compliment, Sheri, for you and your Wayfair team going forward. And perhaps you can share with us just even one more secret, one more clue or tip that your team is doing to provide that great customer experience. What are you doing that makes it so different?
I believe what makes it so different is that we empower our agents. So you don't have to call with a challenge and expect to be on the phone for 30 minutes while our agents have to figure out who to ask to get you the resolution that you need. And when we talk to our agents and we coach and we train and all of these things, we let them know that customer experience is number one, right? So sometimes that means, it always means we do whatever is right for the customer. And if sometimes maybe we did a little too right or something just wasn't where it needed to be, that's where the leaders come in and we provide that education to our consultants. But never do we chastise them for doing what was right, what they truly believed was right for a customer.
Okay, that's good. That's great to hear about that empowerment and the fact they don't have to be afraid of punishment for going the extra mile.
Nope.
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Excellent. And another question for you. This is from Rich. He writes in, hi, Sheri, how have you had success with reaching out to, motivating, and rekindling the fire of those team members with significant tenure in their role that are becoming frustrated with adapting tech and new responsibilities? So what do you do?
Well, I must say I'm delighted. That's Rich Miller. I used to work with Rich. So hello, Rich. I'm so excited you're here. And that is a great question. One of the things that we do here at Wayfair, and I think that would help anybody, is we have very clear career growth conversations immediately when folks get here and offer the opportunities for them to grow in that way. So it's really, I won't say impossible, but it's difficult to get stale or to feel stale or stuck at Wayfair as long as you are doing the work that we need you to, that you were hired to do, and we will be with you every step of the way to where you're headed. And then, some of that is intrinsic, right? I mean, if what you have been you also have to take some responsibility as an agent to stay motivated and to find ways and to make sure that the work is interesting. I was talking to one of our senior managers the other day who started on the front line, and it was funny. He mentioned to me that he wasn't cut out for this work when he got here, which today you would never know because he's a natural. And so what he would do when he felt so frustrated and was like, this just isn't interesting anymore, is he would make games of serving customers. So perhaps if somebody was really upset, he's like, I'm going to make this person smile by the end of this call. What do I need to do to ensure that we get there? And so then he's really was present in that interaction and would make intentional choices to reach that. And he told me if he wasn't able to do that, because he's not a magician and sometimes people don't, newsflash, respond the way we want them to, he would try to find time to reflect back on that, what he learned from it. So if he wasn't able to reach the goal, he would often use it as a learning experience. So those are some of the things that I would suggest, Rich. And I know for myself, when I have somebody like that on my team, I will ask them, I will just call it out in a coaching session. I notice that you're frustrated. I notice that you're not as sparkly as you used to be. What's going on? How can I help? So those are some tips. I'm nervous because
Okay,
it's
great.
Rich.
No. But sure, great answers and great ideas about that, right? Because again, there's always that issue sometimes with some of the more tenured team members being a bit resistant. So it's great advice to have. As well, I've got a question from Richard. So not Rich, but Richard this time, who writes a great presentation. So first of all, that for you, Sheri. And also, have you managed other call centers? And can you comment on your employee retention over prior experience or industry average?
So that is a great question, Richard. I have not managed contact centers. So what I do manage is, and have managed, are the new hire training processes. And so that has everything from, I've built training from, for startups that I actually had to teach them what customer service meant, to large organizations that just needed someone to revamp their training and their coaching. And so I'm not sure I can answer that question in a way that's going to satisfy you or meet your needs. I do know that training and development, when it's done right, it plays a key role in employee retention. And obviously I can't give our numbers out because that's private. But I do
Okay, I
know
understand
we're doing
that,
a good
Sheri.
job. I can say that. We're doing a great job.
Okay, good to hear. Okay, thanks, Sheri. And just kind of follow up with that question as well. Here's another one for you. Can you provide a few tips on creating an exceptional employee experience? So any additional tips for creating that exceptional employee experience?
Oh, yes. So this is one of my favorite topics. So I'm really involved in the ICMI community as well. And we have just spent a lot of time over the last couple of years talking about employee experience. What does that mean? And how does that connect to customer experience? I mean, it kind of sounds obvious. Happy employees make happy customers. But what does that look like strategically? What do you do? We all have limited budgets and limited time. So thinking through, like I said, what can you earlier about, our snack walls. Our snack walls aren't just about, here's some junk food. They're well thought out what we offer. So if you have taken like this 2-hour call and you're exhausted, you can go and get some refreshments. We don't just have snack walls. We have coffee robots and every kind of water you can imagine and all the things. So making sure that our folks don't have to worry about the most basic necessities. We have engagement opportunities. We have the ERGs, so which are actually sponsored by Wayfair, and you can actually come off queue to attend those sessions. So part of employee experience, right, is being seen and heard. We have these resource groups in which you meet with like-minded individuals on company time. Does it get better than that? We make sure that we're celebrating birthdays. We have roundtables with leaders. So really looking at what your budget is, and what can you do to make sure that your employees are feeling valued, seen, heard. They're having a good time at work. It doesn't mean everything we do is fun all the time. I'm not sure that's happened since kindergarten, but and that was a great year, right? But making sure that we are having fun at work, that most of the stories I'm talking about when I come home and talk about my work day are about how I worked really hard, I played really hard, and I was taken care of.
Okay, great. That's really great, Sheri. You're right. Just being able to go home feeling satisfied, right?
Mm-hmm.
That you've done something, is so crucial as well. I just want to ask you a quick follow-up question. I was wondering, I heard you say the word coffee robot.
Yes.
What is a coffee robot? I have no clue what that means.
It's the coffee machine that will do just about anything but rub your back. I mean, whatever kind of coffee you can imagine, this machine will create for you.
Okay, that's really cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's incredible.
Okay, good. All right, excellent. Well, Sheri, thank you so much for answering questions, for sharing all this information with us. It's really great to go and hear about, what you're doing there at Wayfair in terms of being able to help train and coach and lead people, and great advice, I think, for all of us here, in the contact center industry as well. And of course, you must be doing something right because Wayfair has done so well as an online retailer. So it's great to hear that too. And I also want to mention as well to thank Kate Nasser, who again couldn't attend today, but did send some great information for the slides and share information for us as well. She also made a special offer too, so I just want to go and show that as well. Kate mentioned the fact that in honor of Employee Appreciation Day, which is tomorrow, March 6th, that she's willing to go and give away free copy of her book, people in terms of leading morale, which is a great book about being able to help boost morale, employee engagement, etc. That she's willing to go and give away a free copy of that book to the first 10 people who email her. And her email is there, info@katenasser.com. The first 10 people who actually email her, I know a few of you are probably typing this in right now, she will get a free copy of her book sent out to you as well. So again, that's the email. Subject would be leading morale, and then just include your name, title, and company and mailing address as well. And the first 10 people that do that will actually get a free copy of her book. So for Kate, I really want to thank her for doing that. And again, I know she couldn't attend today, but she sent some great information forward as well. And Sheri, thank you, because again, you shared some great information live and spent time with us. So I really appreciate that too. So thanks, Sheri, for being on our show today. Okay, good. And I just want to thank. Oh, good. No, definitely. You shared some great tips as well. And I really love your enthusiasm and your energy in terms of what you're talking about, and some of the key tips as well about really boosting employee engagement with the snack walls and, and again, the coffee, but also the training part too about onboarding. Because again, as you mentioned, I've seen too many onboarding programs where the first 3 days are HR forms, payroll, paperwork, etc. Nothing about telling the agent why they made a great choice to join a company. So I love what you're doing there at Wayfair. That's just brilliant. I like that. Going forward. And as well, too, I want to thank our sponsors for today's session. So 8x8 and also LANtelligence as well. So again, looking in terms of cloud solutions and being able to help with digital business transformation. Really wonderful companies and great sponsors of this webinar. And I also want to mention as well, there's a link down there at the bottom so you can find out more about what they have to offer. I also want to thank all of you as well, listening at home or in your offices, in terms of being able to go and tune in for today's session, as well as everyone who's listening to the recording as well. And again, Sheri, thank you very much for sharing the information with us. And also, Kate, who couldn't be there, but emailed the information in as well. Thanks to both of you as well for being a part of this session. So thank you. And thanks to everybody at home as well and at their home offices. And I keep saying home, but home offices or workplace offices as well, for being able to go and tune into this webinar or listen to the recording. And again, the recording itself will be available online in roughly 3 to 5 days, and it will be sent an email. Everybody who's attended, as well as everybody who's signed up for the webinar, will be sent an email to the YouTube link of this webinar. So you can actually share this or play snippets of this at team meetings, management meetings, etc., to help, again, share these great ideas with your team. So thank you very much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the afternoon.